trying to fix my computer. I lost my internet. I lost my email. I lost all kinds of communication.
David, just so back to back.
Hey, well, I think I gotta lose my wallet and my internet. No, use your phone. Yeah.
Got one over there. I'd like to bring the Mount Olive Township Planning Board public meeting of Thursday, March 12th, 2026 to order. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Sarah, would you please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Yes. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record, Westmore's Reporter, posted on the Mount Olive Township website, and posted at the municipal building.
Thank you. Roll call, please. David
Scapicchio.
Here.
Brian Schechter.
Here.
Ken Forlenza is excused. John Batch.
Here.
Catherine Adapaloosi. Here. Rafael Ruggiero is excused. Dan Nelson.
Here.
William Gallup.
Here.
Jamie Shanafay. Here. Eric Bradley is excused. Howie Weiss.
Here.
Mike Freeland.
Here.
Elizabeth Lenny. Here. James Bryce.
Here.
Thanks, Sarah. Let's just do some quick committee reports of anything, John, from Ordinance Committee?
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. John, Catherine, anything from Environmental?
Meeting was canceled.
Thank you. I have nothing from street naming. Brian, anything that you might want to throw in from Board of Ed?
Board Ed meeting this week was uneventful for the most part. Building, but they're here tonight. So
Okay, perfect.
speak on their own.
So you'll defer your
My
report?
report.
All right. Anything else, Jim? Anything legal? Mike?
There's nothing.
No, not.
Liz, any kind of planning updates?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Let's get right into our minute meeting of approval for September 18th, 2025. Someone please move those minutes for us.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian.
Second.
Thank you, Bill. Any comments? Questions? Seeing none. Sarah, roll call.
David Scapicchio.
Yes.
Brian Schechter.
Yes.
John Batch.
Yes.
Catherine Adapaloosi.
Yes.
Dan Nelson.
Yes.
William Gallup.
Yes.
Jamie Shanafay.
Yes.
Howie Weiss.
Yes, we have one resolution, which is PB 24-18, which was Outfront Media LLC. That was a denying the preliminary and final site plan for variance property located at 12 Route 46, Block 108, Lot 1. So Jim, just as always, because this is a denial, a yes vote, it just confirms.
A yes vote is a yes to the
Resolution.
resolution. That is the resolution of denial.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Catherine.
I'll second.
Thank you, John. Any comments? Questions? Hold on one second, I have it in front of me. I have none. Seeing none. Sarah, roll call, please.
John Batch.
Yes.
Catherine Adapaloosi.
Yes.
William Gallup.
Yes.
Jamie Shanafay.
Yes.
Howie Weiss.
Yes.
Hey, Sarah.
Yes.
No, full vote on it.
You voted yes.
You voted yes.
Yep,
in
on the
favor of it.
application.
Until signed.
Just checking.
Okay, so it is now time, let's get into our first item on the agenda, which is the presentation tonight from the Board of Education. They're here to talk to us about the temporary classrooms. And anybody else might want to, who's going to speak, you can come on up.
This is just a
Yeah, you, Jamie, can you see the board?
I'm good.
Okay. Oh, there's two. Okay.
Thank you.
Gotta get these two glasses to give us two.
And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, just so you know, this is a courtesy review for the Board of Ed for consistency with the master plan, making sure that does not conflict.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. My name is Joshua Thompson. I am a New Jersey licensed architect, a senior associate at the architectural firm of Perrette Sanjan Architects in Rockaway, New Jersey. I'm here on behalf of the Board of Education. There are some board members of administration in the audience with me today, so if there are any questions, I may defer. I don't know everything. I do not believe I have ever had a planning board meeting as close to the subject site as the one we're going to be talking about tonight, which is just across the street. But my intent tonight is to give you a high-level overview of the project. It's still in development. It has not gone out to bid to contractors or anything like that. It's definitely in the works. And then after I present, if there are any questions, we can drill as deep as you would like to. So, in essence,
Yeah,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, we should.
Yeah, okay. Raise your right hand if you could. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give the board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So, in essence, the project consists of two 28 by 64-foot temporary classroom units, or you'll hear me say TCUs. They are modular, and they're going to be located at the existing paving area near the boiler courtyard. We did do some master planning exercises and really came to the realization that there were no other feasible locations to put these classroom units. If you take a look at the site plan, big gray area here is the middle school. Our area, subject area of work is here along Flanders Drakestown. To the side of the school, you have tennis courts, the soccer field, the baseball field, kind of parking and the buses on the other side. It's really restricted in terms of where we could locate these improvements. In addition, the fact that that is near the boiler room and the loading dock means all the utilities are coming into the school there. It actually makes the work of connecting to them with these trailer units a little bit easier. So the way that we have it aligned is with the existing curb of the parking lot. The first trailer is 32.67 feet from the building. By code, we have to maintain at least 20 feet, so we do have a little room to move it towards the building. What is still under development is the method of stormwater management. So we are aware of the recently revised NJDEP guidelines that came out in January, requiring some of the stormwater management. Because of snow cover, the civil engineer actually just got out there this week to undertake some of that. And we're really looking at anything from a dry well to underground piping with a storm chamber and an outlet control structure. That would be located in the area between the TCU and the school, with this lawn area up there. So depending on that final design will tell us how far away from the school we will be. Again, in no case will it be less than 20 feet. The TCUs are aligned vertically with each other with about a 10-foot space in between. I would love to put them right up against each other. However, we need to allow room for the HVAC units, and we also have to have a secondary egress from each of the classrooms. And so they end up about 10 feet apart. The TCUs themselves are elevated, so there is a ramping structure that goes up to them with stairs, with properly sized egress stairs and multiple ways out of that. Everything is aluminum, and it'll be covered in a canopy. I'll get into that in just a moment. As it's shown on the site plan now, the TCU that is the closest to Flanders Drakestown is located 45.26 feet from the curb line, knowing that the setback is 45 feet. We are doing our best to comply. The right-of-way for Flanders Drakestown actually varies, so it's tough to kind of say where the property line starts. The board is actually looking at hiring a surveyor to do a full property survey outside of this project, so we can be sure just what that actual setback from the right-of-way is. But holding the 45.26, we have a little room on the top of the plan towards the school. That's kind of our buffer area that we're looking at. On the right side of the plans in front of you, we are showing the estimated trenching and excavation. Again, because of snow cover, some of the site work has been lagging. We do have a GPR company performing their work next week, so we can see exactly where the utilities are running, so we can figure out an exact trenching plan. We also have geotechnical work that will be test pits and testing soil composition and things like that, so we can correctly design the foundations and that stormwater management. As far as site improvements, as of right now, we are removing 3 trees that are in the area. If you've driven by there, We're trying to save, there's a couple others there that are designated to remain right now. We are planning to install or plant some arborvitae or some kind of shrubbery shield in front of the TCU, between the TCU and the road line. Other than that, very simply, there's one light pole that will be relocated, which is on the kind of the planned south area right here. And then there's another light pole up here closer to the school that's designated to remain. The temporary classroom units are just that, they're temporary, but they will be on a permanent foundation. And because of that, we are installing them over top of a mixture of the existing parking lot and a lawn area. So if you've had the occasion to drive into the parking lot that's to the left of the site, there are 11 parking spaces on the right-hand side. Those parking spaces are essentially the leading edge of the TCU. So as you come in here, there's 11 spaces along this area. Those 11 spaces are going to be decommissioned. There's not a plan right now to relocate them on the site. That would be part of another phase of the project. And again, the trailer units would sit half on asphalt, half on the ground. As for those units themselves, the foundation would be sonotube tiling, and then the trailer would be stacked on 8x16 CMU, dry stack on the CMU. As you'll see, as I walk you through the plan very quickly, there are canopies and awnings that we're installing. Each of those, at least in terms of canopy, is freestanding, so that will have its own foundation system. Each temporary classroom unit consists of 2 classrooms, so there's actually 4 classrooms going in the 2 units. They are general purpose classrooms, but they do contain sinks with a bubbler, millwork, storage closet, and as I've mentioned before, they each have 2 exits to the exterior. The HVAC is side mounted, it's forced air, so there's trunks that go the length of each trailer unit from opposing ends. And the intent is to tie into the existing lines that are in that area. So that would be the sewer, the electric, the water, everything for the school is coming right through that area. So the GPR is critically important so that, number 1, we don't hit anything when we dig, but number 2, we're making the most efficient use of the connections. In terms of some of the utilities, the district will be installing security card access that's compatible with the rest of the school because this is a separate exterior entrance. It will be integrated with the school's life safety fire alarm systems, the public address system. That'll all be coordinated with each other. Each classroom will have 4 IT terminations, 1 for the wireless access point, 1 for the voice over IP, 1 for a smart board, and then a spare. Some of the closets will be used as patch panel rooms. There's a 100 amp sub panel that will be installed inside the school to power up, and then a transformer at the temporary classroom units. All the conduit will be either EMT if it's above grade, single 40 PVC if it's below. In terms of the student population using the classroom, they would exit from up here. If you look at the corner of the plan, there's a 6-door exit. They would proceed along the existing sidewalk, and then along here, up a ramp or up the stairs, and then into the classrooms. In order to protect them, because it's kind of a California campus, but we're nowhere near California, we are installing a building-mounted awning to protect them along the walk there, and then, as I mentioned before, a freestanding canopy that will protect them for the entirety of the ingress into the classroom. There is a little bit of concrete work. We're tying into the existing sidewalk there, which is a large kind of plaza type of feel. Obviously, some of that with the tie-in, it's going to have to deal with grading and things like that, and so we're hoping not to have to chase that new concrete too far. And I guess briefly before I turn it back over is, as I mentioned before, the temporary classroom units are elevated. We don't want to see a floor and have kids potentially getting underneath the 3 foot, so there is going to be a perimeter skirt that matches the site. So what we've provided in the bottom left of this plan is kind of a photo image. It's not a rendering for this project. It's an actual picture from the manufacturer that the BOE intends to work with that shows kind of a cream-colored classroom unit with a canopy, with a metal roof, with the ramping system. You can actually see an HVAC unit in there, and just kind of see how everything ties together. So knowing that we're facing on the plan to Drakestown, I don't want to speak for the BOE, but I don't think they're intending it to be bright red classroom units or anything like that. But that's essentially the long and short of the project.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Johnson? David?
The way you describe it, it sounds like it's more of a permanent facility than a temporary facility. But having said that, what is the estimated cost?
The estimated cost is, offhand, I don't recall, but the all-in price, which includes dealing with the modular manufacturer directly and the site improvements and things like soft costs, the permitting costs to the DOE and things like that, I think it's just under $1 million.
And I wonder what that would be, and you probably don't have the answer to this, in comparison to adding on to that school with the same square footage.
So a typical classroom is about, for a middle school, would be about 800 square feet. And so if we figure that the 3,200 square feet, we're seeing construction costs come in anywhere from $650 to $700 a square foot for new construction. So egress and corridors and grossing spaces aside, I think you'd be looking at 3,200 times 7, at least over $2 million for the same thing built out of traditional brick and mortar.
Okay.
As part, and if you'll allow me.
So are these units purchased or leased?
These units will be purchased, but
Okay.
they may end up being relocated to other facilities within the district depending on population demographics if things are shifted.
Thank you.
Dan?
I imagine that the purpose of this is an increase in the school population. What is the overall population, and has it increased?
So the BOE is actually working with a demographer now to understand the full ramifications of that. From my simple understanding, I can tell you that there is an increase, and it's actually starting in the K-5 realm.
Take a what?
The K-5, so kindergarten to 5th grade is kind of where that bump is being experienced now. As of right now, the middle school and high school are staying relatively flat. Again, this is all subject to change with the final report, but obviously as children matriculate from 5th grade, they're going to end up at the middle school. So it does solve, I think, an immediate need at the school now.
Is it needed now, or is it this
Yeah.
for the future?
So the intent is for this to be open for September, and there are designated classrooms that are already planned to go into that.
Brian?
Yeah, there are two things. One is, I don't see any traffic ballards on this. And this is going to a parking lot. Or will they be on the final plan? I mean, I think, Bill, I don't know.
Yeah, I have a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
for you.
And
Wait my
then,
turn.
I know you're taking some trees down, but I also see the arborvitae here. You might want to get with the town on the tree fund to see if those could be donated, as part of the tree fund we already have, the money set aside for public events.
Okay, thank you.
Bill?
So, piggybacking off of Brian and what you said, I'm looking at sheet 3 here, where you describe the ingress and egress to the classroom. So I just want to understand this. So currently, they're coming out of that southern entrance. They're going to walk over, and they're going to come up that set of stairs on the north side of that northern building. And to get to that southern building, they're going to go through that first building. Is that correct?
No, so
Okay.
my diagrams are different than the ones you have in front of you. If you find one that looks like the roof plan, there's a horizontal.
I'm looking at it's temporary classroom unit egress plan. I'm at sheet T1 4.03. That's where I'm at.
So then, basically, to get to the planned south classroom unit, there's a covered platform, an aluminum platform.
So they're gonna be walking on the eastern side of that north building
On a raised platform. with
on a
guardrails and
raised
everything.
platform. Okay, so that's also gonna be raised,
Correct, there's a ramp that starts closer to the school. and
Okay.
then ramps you up to there.
All right.
There are also stairs coming off the backside of that if there was an emergency.
okay. Yeah, cause I was looking at that southernmost, it looks like an emergency exit, but I wanted to make sure, number one, there's sidewalk there, right? I was concerned if we're gonna have bollards for
Yeah,
that.
so that southern exit is an egress only. and
Okay.
It's emergency only, I should say. And we did what we could, we kind of turned it so that the children aren't walking towards the road, they actually have to get out and
Yeah.
turn, and that's.
You're
what
gonna have
our
some sort
plan-
of sidewalk or something.
Yeah, a concrete pad down
Across there, okay. So what you're saying is there's not gonna be any need for bollards or anything from that dock parking lot
No, because.
because it's elevated, correct?
Yep.
And now, how about along the teacher's parking lot there? Is there gonna be anything there? Because we're gonna have, I don't know how many classes you have a day, but you're gonna have students walking out there all day.
Correct.
So they're gonna be susceptible to, vehicular traffic out there. I'd like to see some sort of bollards or something along that, right, to protect the students. And we know kids always take the path of least resistance. So, I mean, even if they left at an angle, they're not gonna be going into the parking lot by the looks of this, but like something to keep them in line.
Right,
And to
understood.
keep the cars from, right now you're dealing with 2 time periods, morning drop-off, afternoon pickup. With this, if you have 8 periods a day, you've got, 10 times that the kids are out there. In between the two units, they're gonna be elevated, so that solves that question for me. I know you said you're eliminating 11 parking spaces. There's that new formed parking lot that's in the southern side there. How many parking spaces were created in that?
That wasn't my firm.
20, okay, I figured it was more than 11. And then I guess my other question is, what's the long-term plan, I guess, right? Because it's a large expenditure, and talking about it being temporary, what's the long-term plan?
Correct. Okay, so with the expense being about $1 million, the DOE regulates that a temporary classroom unit has a life of 5 years. And after 5 years, you have to get DOE approval to keep extending it. So let's just, for simple math, it's $1 million over 5 years, $200,000 a year to put these units in, assuming you only get the 5. In order to have leased these, because again, the board is looking to buy them, to lease them, I believe is around $125,000 a year. So if the board's plan is to keep them for 10 years, then it actually is the more fiscally responsible decision to buy them. We did, before we got into this project, do some master planning for the middle school to see what a potential addition would look like. One of the first exercises we did with the board was to see if we could add a second level over kind of this area right here by the tennis courts. We determined that wasn't going to be feasible because that area was never structurally designed for a second floor, so we'd have to do inset columns and tear up the whole floor, and it would not have worked. So the board, I think, is right now starting some preliminary planning for a future addition potentially at this site that would take these classroom units off.
Okay.
But as to the timing, the size, the program of that addition.
We kind of don't have a long-term plan right now, is kind of.
Hey, Dr. Banji, you want to come up?
Well, why don't we finish with this witness before we
Okay.
get into another?
You know what, you can come up and let's let Mr. Johnson finish. Okay.
Do you want me to?
No, not yet.
Oh,
We're still
Bill,
with
were
one
you good?
witness.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah.
Dan, I think you had another question.
Yeah, I had a question. There's 2 units. You mentioned there's gonna be 4 classrooms, and you said there was gonna be 2 doors. Is that 2 doors per unit or 2 doors per classroom?
2 doors per classroom, so one of.
So each unit will have 4 doors.
Correct, so the central area between the 2 classrooms is a shared lobby. So it'd be one door to the exterior, and then you would go left or right and go into a classroom. And then each has their own exterior direct exit.
So 3 doors per unit.
3 doors on the exterior, yeah, it's, no.
You mentioned briefly about a card key system as you use in the school. Can you expand a little bit on the security measures that are in place to protect the students? To
So-
keep outsiders away?
There are windows within the trailer unit, so, you know, those are, it's going to be elevated off of the ground, but that's going to constantly be a monitored thing. We did look at security camera coverage in that area, and because it's the loading dock and because it's a parking area, it's relatively well covered, which is why we don't have any cameras in the plan. There will be lighting fixtures, think of them as wall packs, because if we do have emergency egress, by code, we have to provide a certain level of light just for that. So that it's not going to be kind of a standalone lighting fixture that you would see in a wall parking lot or anything like that, but it will give you enough light. And then the security card access would be just like it is on any other door into the middle school, that, you know, the main office for the middle school is actually around the corner. So it's going to be very clear that this is not an entrance, this is not where visitors should go. Visitor parking is on the other side of the school, so I can't speak to the security detail and you know, if they're going to be paying more attention to this because the classrooms are there, I would imagine so. But
Maybe we can get that answer from the superintendent. Keep that in mind. Anybody else have any questions? Open it up. Yeah, okay. So let's do this. I know, Dr. Benji, you had a couple of things, so would you like to swear in the
Yeah.
superintendent?
If you'd raise your right hand, do you swear affirm that the testimony you're about to give this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
It is.
Thank you.
Okay, so there was a point that got you excited out there, so.
I did. And you know I'm an excitable person. So as a district, you know, certainly about 3 years ago, a little over that, we had a field referendum in which we had to reflect upon our priorities of the district. However, from that referendum, as we shared.
Can you
our-
put the microphone down?
Oh,
Please.
is that better? Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. I'm short, so maybe my voice does not carry.
No, it's my ears.
Yeah. So as I was sharing, as a district, as a school district, and as a town, we are growing, right, as far as numbers are concerned. And we're fortunate that people are attracted to our community. And as you know, we have a new community that's being built right off Route 80 that is projected to bring in hundreds of students into our district. As Mr. Thompson pointed out, that bubble is expected to start at the elementary schools. And so that's why we are projecting to have those students attend Sand Shore, because it is our smallest of our 4 elementary schools that hopefully can start accommodating some of those numbers. And right now, our middle school and high school, while the numbers as a macro level have not increased, the needs for programming has. You know, one of the things we have done as a district in the past school year has implemented a long-range planning committee in which one of your members is actually a member of, in which we are looking at all the needs of each individual building. And at the middle school in itself, we have a lot of programming needs that require new spaces. And that is the impetus for these 4 new classrooms, that we have a bolstering large volume of special ed programming we're very proud of, and with those programs requires more space. For example, at our middle school, we have basically limited almost every faculty meeting space, and we are at the very ends of what's able to be done within the building. So when you talk about need, this need is eminent. You know, we have growing programs across in that building, whether it be special ed, small group instruction, and with those needs, we need more space. And that's why the immediate need is a modular. And I appreciate your desire of, well, what if we built a more permanent? That is the goal. So we're looking at to add an addition eventually at the middle school that's going to be permanent in nature and also meet the growing needs of that building. So, but at this time period that we need space, so we need a modular at this point.
And have you you have anything else to add to the security measures that you have?
As you know, we are probably the safest county school, not only in the county, but in the state. I'm very proud of saying that. We get that award almost every single year. We have a number of security guards that are armed in each of our buildings. Our middle school has a number of them. And certainly, if you understand the logistics of here, I want you to imagine this is right outside of the gym entrance. So if you're talking about that side entrance of where the staff is, so of the spaces, that is the least traveled, because when staff arrive in the day, they stay here for the entire day. So this is not the front parking lot and people are picking up kids, or the other side of the building where the buses are. So of the space, this is the location in which that it's least traveled, because staff arrive before the kids come and they leave after the kids leave. So there's not going to be much movement there. So that's why that was chosen, that also, as Mr. Thompson pointed out, it's literally the only space we have around, because we are landlocked there. So as far as security is concerned, we are going to be stationing someone right outside door to make sure that as the kids walk in and out, that they're going to be safe. As you know, we have cameras all around that building, so it's going to continue the excellent security measures we have in the building, but having a better parameter outside there.
Good, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Anybody else have anything? Did anybody from the board, Anthony, I know you were looking ready to stand up and say something.
Until Dr. Bain just stopped up, I was going to say the same thing she has, so I appreciate that as well.
Okay. I don't have anything else. So Jim, maybe what we just, do we need to,
Well, I think that you'd want to make a motion, the way that the statute reads is that this is a capital project, they have to get the board's input, make sure that it's consistent with the master plan, and list any recommendations that you have. This obviously goes to the state and for the Department of Education approval under the Educational Facilities Act for approval. But this is a necessary step. If you want to say you should consider bollards, make sure stormwater management is appropriate, things of that nature. You can include that in your motion to find it consistent with the master plan or the recommendation.
so perhaps if we made a motion that said, kind of what Mr. Bryce just said to us, that this capital project with its proper stormwater management plans, proper safety measures, including the ballards, as we discussed tonight, are consistent with our master plan.
That sounds really good. I'll make that motion.
If I may, just one additional thing, talking about the students walking outside, it might be worthwhile to look into something to keep them corralled, right? I don't want to make it look like a jailhouse with, chain link fencing keeping them in, but something so that, God forbid, that security guard is called to do something else, that we're not just reliant on a physical person being there. Just food for thought, if that's something that can be included.
Constantine.
What's that?
Constantine one.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so with the recommendation to just keep safety first as a concern for everybody in the room, and Brian made the motion. Jim, you have enough to go by?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll second.
Second by Catherine. Do we have any board conversation? Seeing none, is there a roll call?
Dave Spizicchio.
Yes.
Brian Schechter.
Yes?
John Batch.
Yes.
Catherine Natapolusi.
Yes.
Dan Nelson.
Yes.
William Gallup.
Yes.
Jamie Shanafy.
Yes.
Howie White.
Yes, and so, thank you all for coming. I
Thank
thank you. I know that,
Thank you.
I think you're seeing that this is a really simple process. It's
Absolutely.
important. And we welcome you to come back.
And I welcome the partnership really at the end of the day, because ultimately we all are serving the same people, right?
Yeah, we have been working very well together.
Yeah.
Just a quick, off the subject, real quick for the Board of Ed. I think we chatted a couple months ago about a liaison. We've had that in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I've heard a couple of names. Did you appoint a liaison? Did the Board of Ed appoint a liaison?
It's been rotating between Mr. Orzillo and myself.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that any communication, Sarah, goes to the right person. So do you have contact for the Board of Ed? Mrs. Fenton,
I do have, yeah.
but she's not on the board.
Okay.
So I think it's important that we leave here tonight with, just get some contact, and that way Sarah can communicate with you on issues that would possibly affect the Board of Education. Wonderful. Always very
Thank you so
productive.
much.
Thanks, everybody, for coming out. So Anthony, John, would you just give Sarah some contact information? All right, and as we're taking care of that, I could introduce the next application, our loan application for the, on the agenda this evening is PB 25-23, Garfield LLC, here for C and D variances for the property located at 260 Route 46, which is block 3300, lot 24, and just give us a second for Sarah to catch up. Okay, good night. So, Mr. Wine,
Yes,
welcome.
Thank
I'll turn
you.
it over to you.
thank you. Good evening, Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. Benjamin Wine of Prime 2 Valamicelli on behalf of the applicant 21 Garfield LLC. It's a pleasure to be here this evening before you. Very simply, the property address that we're talking about here this evening is located at 260 Route 46 with the Bud Lake postal address. That's block 3300, lot 24. And if you're familiar at all with this area, this presentation this evening should hopefully make a whole lot more sense if you're familiar with the site. Right now, the site consists of an existing single-family residence, and what we're seeking this evening is to expand that residence, to keep it as a single family, but to expand it from something that was constructed in the 1920s at approximately 740 square feet of total floor area for the residence to just about, I believe we're just over 2,000 square feet. So there are actually 3 bedrooms in this unit today, somehow, but they are there, and we're expanding this. It's going to be a 4-bedroom residence with 2.5 bathrooms, more akin to residential living for a family, in 2026 and beyond. Again, as I mentioned, your familiarity with the site is going to be critical to your understanding of the application this evening. What I mean by that is, if you know anything about Route 46, which everybody here does, it's back in a few years ago, it was rezoned, this entire corridor, to the PB zoning district, with the idea, per your master plan, of converting this corridor into a more commercial/office style corridor with 1-acre lots. Now, we only have just over 5,000 square feet of lot area, as does just about every other lot on this block. And in fact, the vast majority of properties on this block have remained single-family residences on approximately 5,000 to 6,000 square foot lots. So, barring combining every single lot on this block, you would never really meet that 1-acre requirement. And to then try and propose something commercial would run afoul of a number of your zoning requirements. So we have a block here that is almost 100% residential in nature, and all we're seeking to do is to maintain that residence on this property and to expand it by putting a 2nd story over the existing single-story bungalow on the property. With that, we do have some variances. Again, most of them actually all of them come by virtue of the fact that we are in this PB zoning district that contemplates a single acre and a commercial use. So first and foremost, the main variance that we have for you this evening is for expansion of a non-conforming use. Single-family residences in the PB zone are not permitted uses, as I alluded to, and so if you so much as do anything more than move a blade of grass, you effectively need to seek a D2 variance to expand a house on such a property. With that as well, we also do have the D4 floor area ratio variance, and we have a D6 height variance as well. Both of these, and it's notable, as you'll hear from our presentation this evening, residential zones throughout Mount Olive do not have floor area ratio requirements, and that's pretty standard throughout New Jersey because floor area is usually a control imposed upon commercial properties, which makes sense because this is a commercial zone. And then in terms of the height, what we did is we made sure that we were consistent and actually under what your permitted residential height is throughout your residential zones in town. Again, the idea here being make this a house that is conducive to living in 2026 and beyond. That's all we're looking to do. We also have some C variances associated with the application. I'm actually happy to report that as I was discussing with my client, there is an existing shed in the back of the property, and his intention throughout construction, and it just never came up during our initial conversations, his intention was to demolish it anyways. So by demolishing the shed in the back, we did apply for a lot coverage variance. I can comfortably and happily say that's actually going to be eliminated by virtue of the fact that we do intend to demolish that shed. So our lot coverage, where 40% is permitted, is actually, instead of the 43.5 we applied for, is going to be approximately 37. So it will drop into conformance, and not for nothing, on a lot that is 1/9 of the required lot size in this zone, to be able to comply with the coverage, I think is a testament to the fact that this is a house that makes sense on this property. We do, however, still have bulk variances since we're adding a 2nd story, we have existing non-conforming front and side yards. So by adding right on top of those, we are taking those non-conformities vertical, so to speak. And then we also have a building coverage variance where 15% is permitted. And again, by removing the shed, we have 19.8% today. We're actually only going to be at 20.2%, so an increase of about 0.4% in building coverage, again, by removing that shed from our plan. So with me this evening, I have 2 witnesses I intend to call. I have our project architect, who will hopefully do a much better job than I just did explaining and visualizing the project for you. And then I have our professional professional planner, John McDonough, who's going to speak to the relief that I just identified and how it's consistent with the master plan and how the relief itself can be justified. So Chairman, unless you have any questions of me, I'm
I
happy
just
to
have
proceed.
one question. One of your last comments on your building coverage,
Yes.
I lost track of what you said, 15%?
So 15% is permitted in this commercial zone. Based on our application, we are proposing 26.5. There's 19.8 today. However, by eliminating the shed, as I mentioned before, which does count towards building coverage, our new proposal will be 20.2%, which is 0.4% more than the 19.8 that is on the property today. So it is still a variance. It's about 5%, 5.2%.
Okay, that's where I went wrong, because
Correct.
I went from 15 to 20, and then I heard you say 0.4, and that math
Right.
didn't work for me. But I understand it now.
15 to
0.4%
20.2.
higher than what existing now.
Correct.
Makes sense. Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Of course. So with
Yeah,
that,
so you can get started, bring up your architect if you like, or whatever you want to do next.
perfect. So Jacob Solomon, and we should probably have him sworn in, or sworn at, whatever your pleasure is.
All right, Mr. Sullivan, if you raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give the board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last for the record.
Jacob Solomon, Solomon, 14-25 Plaza Road, Suite S35 in Fair Lawn, New Jersey.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon.
And Mr. Jacob, if you can please give the board the benefit of your educational and professional background and the status of your license as an architect in the state of New Jersey.
Yes, I received my master's degree from Engineering IT in 1990. I received my license in practice architecture in the state of New Jersey in 1993. I'm currently licensed in 5 states. I'm licensed in good standing in all states. I've been testifying in front of boards all over New Jersey and New York for the last 30 years or so, and been followed by a special witness, and I'm up to date on my continuing education, and my license is good.
Current as of this evening. Have you been here before, Mr. Solomon?
No.
Well, welcome to Mount Olive. I certainly think we can accept you as an expert architect unless anybody has any concerns. No concerns? Welcome, Mr. Solomon.
Thank you. So Jacob, why don't you walk the board through the existing site conditions and what we're proposing here this evening?
Yes, as you see in this, the large wide stripe is the existing dwelling now. It's approximately 740 square feet. There are 3 bedrooms that are in this house, with living room, dining room, and a bathroom. Our intention is to keep the existing dwelling first floor walls. We're only going to remove a little bit of the rear corner of the existing exterior walls. The bedrooms now are 8.5 feet by 8 feet or so, so they're not even legal bedrooms by today's building codes. So the intention is, as I mentioned, is to keep the existing footprint of the house. We're going to square off the house in the rear right corner with the 2-story addition. This larger rectangular area in the back is going to be only on the 2nd floor, open below to a patio to reduce the FAR on the property. We try to keep it for more reasonable number. So the intention is to enter 46, we're proposing a hammerhead. We understand there's a utility pole that may interfere with the driveway. This, of course, will need a DOT application if the driveway or the poles or special feature endeavor if this application is approved. So the idea is to make it safer exiting from the property. That's why the lot coverage is a little higher, because there's no deceleration lane or shoulder on 46. So you gotta come down 46, you gotta hang that right at whatever speed you're going. So that accounts for the extra lot coverage that I was proposing on the site. As I said, the shed in the back is going to be removed for the coverage. There's an existing little deck in the back that's going to remain. The demolition plan, we're going to remove all the interior walls of the house, keeping the majority of the exterior walls intact, because they're very small rooms. The existing bathroom will remain, but of course be remodeled, because it's very tiny. So it's only a 1-story structure now. The house has full baths and in-office bedrooms. So we're trying to stay within the existing, basic envelope of the house. We're not going to be expanding beyond the existing first floor wall, so we're not exacerbating any existing non-conformities. We're trying to keep the house within the same kind of rectangular or square footprint that exists today. Proposing a two-story structure, vernacular materials, siding, windows, dashboard roof. Proposing a covered entry porch, very typical, protect from the weather. From this elevation, you can see the open covered patio. The second floor will be on the column, so it'll be covered patio. In the rear, we're proposing 9-foot floor ceiling heights. 8 is acceptable in common code, 9 is nice. There's the extents to 4 page 4 existing site photos. House of Marlboro, which is very typical in the neighborhood. I did drive around the neighborhood several times. It's a mix of 1-story, 2-story, caves with dormers, and a couple of 3-story buildings facing the lake and around the area. So it's a whole mix of different sized houses in the neighborhoods, all similar sized lots. So I think that the house will fit the scale of the neighborhood and the surrounding properties.
Thank you. And Jacob, just a couple of follow-up questions. So in terms of the gross floor area of the building, just so that the board can get a sense and an understanding, right now, I think you mentioned we're at 740 square feet or so.
That's correct.
With the addition, how big is this house gonna be?
The largest floor will be the second floor, which is on the columns. It'll be 1,021 square feet. We're adding approximately 60 square feet to the first floor, so it'll be closer to just over 800, 820 on the first floor, and 1,000 on the second living space.
So the overall living space is under 2,000 square feet.
That's correct.
So as an architect, you would consider this a modest residence, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And then my other question for you, I'm gonna take you back to your site plan.
Okay.
To the, so the existing driveway, I think, based on the survey that everybody should have, it's a gravel drive, and I think it actually goes over the property line to the adjacent property. But there's no turnaround currently, right?
That's correct. This gravel drive is partially on our property, and survey indicates the gravel drive is partially on the neighbor's property.
Okay, and so I could see the the police chief salivating at this, but right now, so you would, if you're entering this property, you would drive head in, and you would effectively back out onto Route
That's
46?
correct, unless you turn around on the grass somewhere on the property.
Okay, but with the proposed condition, with that hammerhead, as you referred to, that'll allow all the vehicles parked on the property the ability to properly maneuver so that they can then head out onto 46, is that correct?
They can face out from 46, not back out onto the high-speed traffic lanes.
Okay, perfect. And then obviously, this should hopefully go without saying, my last question, but you mentioned that there are some current non-code compliances in terms of bedroom size, things like that. Everything as designed would be fully code compliant with today's standards, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So Chairman, I have nothing further for this witness.
Anybody from the planning board have any questions for Mr. Solomon? David?
Why do you say that the basement is practically unusable?
It's a low ceiling height. It's just, I think it's just over 6 feet or so.
It's like a crawl
So it's more of a crawl space, maybe an oversized sort of crawl space?
Correct.
And is there access to that from the exterior?
Yes, there are, so a bill-closed door in the rear. That's these steps that are here. We're going to abandon those and just have a stairway down to the basement area where the utilities being first. I'm working here.
Which takes up most of that space, I guess.
That's correct. We're going to use it for as much utility as we can because to maximize the living space on the floors.
So with removing the shed and not having the garage and not really having a functional full basement, where would the storage be?
Well, yeah, basement is accessible to storage. We'll have a staircase down to the basement for storage. It's not habitable in terms of human occupancy, but it is okay. Ceiling height is okay for storage. Size is about 8. The size basement is about 8, maybe 9 feet deep by 9 feet by.
And I just bring that up because, you know, if in the future they need a shed, they're gonna have to come back to this board.
Correct.
And one of my pet peeves here has been storage in Mount Olive Township, and no garages, no full basements. You can't put a shed up. Where are these people putting all this stuff, so?
Right, the crawl space has about maybe 4 feet from from the top of it's like you step up, I guess, to the upper crawl space. So it's about 4 feet that area. It's about 6 feet on the basement side. So it's about 800 square.
So you can
feet.
store something, but not a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I get it.
800 square feet.
Thank you.
Catherine?
I just have a question. Can you go back to sheet A3?
Sure.
Where is this deck that's shown on the plans? Not A, yeah, A3. A3. Where's the deck?
It's a very low deck. It's only one step off.
Oh, it's not
So
elevated.
it's not like high. I'd say 10, maybe 10 inches.
Off the ground?
Yeah, it's just a little step up. It's gonna be basically the flat.
And is that the door that'll access the basement?
This door?
Yeah.
Door enters the mudroom.
Oh,
The rear door here, it's just the mud area by the back.
so you'll have a Vilco door or something like that for the basement?
I didn't see it on the drawings.
Those
No.
doors are here. They remain. This is the open patio.
Oh,
The
okay.
second floor is up, up on stilts, so it's an open, it's a covered patio, but it's all open. You go through roof there, access.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Dan?
The patio area, is that figured into the lot coverage?
Yes, because the building overhangs, so we count the
Okay.
area. Yes.
Okay.
It's exactly the roof area of the entire structure.
Anything else from the planning board? We haven't done, I'm gonna open it to the public in a second. Anything, Mike, did you have anything? I know we didn't really talk planning yet either, but,
I know you mentioned real quickly, aluminum siding and something. I don't know if you talked about finishes and colors.
well, it's a good point, Mike, because I made note, the comment from Mrs. Solomon was natural looking, natural.
Yeah, it'll be common.
So-
Siding colors, nothing crazy, not purple, it's not purple. Blue, yellow, gray.
Okay, something that we would expect to see on a house, earth tones, kind of.
Correct. We'll keep with the vernacular of the neighborhood, you know.
Well, that might not be a good answer, that, there's everything. But, that's okay, I think we can live with natural earth tones.
Sure.
I know we're just very concerned because we don't like surprises, so.
And
all
then
right.
exterior lighting, did I miss that? We're putting just porch lighting up there, two doors. Wall-mounted wall spots.
Mike, anything else?
That's all I have for now.
All right, so at this point, let me open it to the public. If anybody from the public has any questions for Mr. Solomon, you can come to the podium and ask the question.
Good evening, everybody.
Ma'am, if you could go right over to that podium, and there's a microphone there.
Hi, I'm Sandra Rudolph. We own lot 26, which is next door to this, where they want to build this. One question I want to know, they're on lot 24 with this. Is that going to come over into lot 25, like right up against my property?
No, the footprint of the house is remaining where it is. We're not
It's gonna be
expanding
just
any
on 24.
direction.
My only other question with that is, the height you want to make this house is a lot taller than what my existing home is. My house has 4 windows on that side, which are my 3 bedrooms and my bathroom. With the height that you're planning, these people are going to be up in their upstairs. I'm never going to be able to open my bathroom window, my bedroom windows without somebody being able to look down right through it. I'd have to keep my blinds shut all the time. You're going to get out of the shower and somebody's going to be able to look right through your house with the height that you're planning this house.
Mr. Solomon, what was the height again, the height?
It was,
I'll get to that in a minute.
20.4.
Yeah, and Jacob, just perhaps if you can explain as well, because I think it's a very good question from the neighbor. The height of the window, there's a big chunk of the height that's the roof, is that correct? The pitch?
That's correct.
So in other words, the height up to the top of the second floor is much more traditional, I guess I would say, is that?
Yeah, it's going to be up higher than my house though. And like
It's
I
a
said,
second floor addition,
all of my
right.
windows are right there, which means I'll never be able to open my blinds again. well, like I said, 3 of my bedrooms are there. My upstairs is a bedroom, which is in the attic area, which is gonna be probably right level where their windows are gonna come on this house. They're gonna be able to look
Are
right
you
into
to the
me.
left of
You're
this
to the
lot?
left, right?
We're on the left-hand side.
So there's the 3 windows that are at the ground level.
Yeah,
Right.
the first floor.
And then there's
just one
one
window.
window.
Only one window.
What is that one window?
There's one window on that side.
Where's that go to?
It's just at the end of the hallway. You allow light into the hallway.
That's
Would you
not-
be able to reverse it?
That's not the pictures that I was shown from the town.
Reverse and hallway.
The hallway and the upper floor so that the window's facing the other direction?
Uh,
Basically like a mirror image?
That might be difficult putting the kitchen on this side. And the staircase would have to
Mm.
Just to retaining all the plumbing or doing utilities on
So,
the existing side of the house. But there is only one window on the second floor on that side. If it's a major issue, it can be made,
Well-
it's not necessary.
Go ahead, Dave.
You know, the option would be to put an awning window that's up a little higher and not,
Fire transom, absolutely.
just to get the light through and not,
Then you can't see out right.
If what I'm
Unless you're
seeing
8
on
foot
my
tall.
phone is correct, this looks like it would be the side that's gonna be facing my property. It's showing 4 windows there.
Yeah, so there's 3 windows that are on the
You
first
can take a look on his plans right
no,
there.
that's a
ma'am.
rear elevation.
The 3 windows.
Take a look on his plans right there, ma'am.
The 3 windows are on the first floor. And, we're willing to change this maybe to like a half window, a higher window, so you can see out and down.
They're gonna be right across, right into my house. And there's only one other concern I have about this house you're planning is gonna be running triple the water from this well system. We have private wells
Well,
there, we do
ma'am,
not have
I'm gonna
town
just
water.
stop because Mr. Solomon is an architect, and he hasn't testified to water. That's not his area of expertise. That wouldn't be a fair question. So at least at this point, now here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna ask questions of the experts as they come up, and at the end of the hearing, I'll give you an opportunity to discuss some of the concerns that you have. But I wanna use this time right now to question Mr. Solomon on the testimony that he gave.
All right, yeah, because we are gonna have a problem with the water there.
We'll come back up to that. Anybody else from the public?
My name is Jamie, and I own a property on Center Street, directly behind this one. And my question is in regard to the shed, so the intention is to remove it completely
That's correct.
and then have nothing left there.
That's correct.
I'm only asking because in one of the images I saw online as well, you can see that shed and the garage that is on my property. And I did a Google search. Obviously, I don't know if that's an accurate representation, but it almost looks like the shed is off that property line onto my property line. And I don't know if you can say if that's accurate or not.
No, the survey done by the licensed surveyor indicates that the shed is compliant with our property. It's 2 feet on one side and a foot in the rear, that's why it's so close.
Okay,
But the shed will be removed in its entirety.
but it's just on that property line, right? Like, that's my question. I'm only concerned just because if you do demolition, like, what would happen to my property in that process?
Oh, no, they'll be very careful taking down, sure.
Hey, ma'am, just for the record, are you at property, lot number 5?
It's
Are you
14.
directly behind this one?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, you're lot number 5. According to the survey, the shed is properly on their property, and the demolition, there's plenty of room for them to access the shed through their own property. I don't
Okay.
see any reason.
No, yeah, it was so close that I wasn't sure, and I
It is,
just
you're
wanna make sure.
100% right, that shed is probably, I'm not an expert here, but it's a foot or so off the property line. And so when it comes down, they have plenty of room to access it from their own property.
Yeah, I was just more concerned, like, if there was, I don't know, damage or, on the property, like, are they gonna fix that area?
Yeah, and ma'am, I'll just add to that as well. I know it was a question for the architect, but during construction process anyways and demolition, first of all, if there's a need to access your property, if for whatever reason they needed to go on it, they would need to seek your approval to do it. And to the extent they needed to stage or anything on your property, there would need to be insurance in effect and all that, so you would be protected.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? All right, let me close it to the public. Mr. Solomon, thank you for your testimony. Benjamin, you could bring up Mr.
Sure. So my next and final witness is our professional planner, John McDonough.
Mr. McDonough, if you'd raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name, spell your last for the record.
Sure. Hi, everyone. John McDonough, MC, capital DONOUGH.
And John, you've been a planner for a couple of years, right? Can you just give the board the benefit of your education?
Mr. Wine, I think we could, we know Mr. McDonough. Good to see you again, John.
Always.
Is your
And,
license in good standing here this evening?
Thank
Yes,
you.
it
That was
is.
the only question I was going to ask.
Okay.
We know Mr. McDonough. We know he's an expert in the planner,
Thank
as a
you.
planner, so we'll accept Mr. McDonough this evening.
Thank you, Chairman. So, John, if you can, it looks like you're going to give out an exhibit. I'm happy to hand it out for you. Yep.
Mark
You
this
should probably have this marked as A1.
A1. Tell us what A1 is.
No, that's fine.
Mr. McDonough will tell us what A1 is.
John, just if you can let the board know what this exhibit is.
Thank you.
This exhibit is stapled to the right. Sorry about that. 4 pages, file size 11 by 17. We're going to start with an aerial satellite image, shows the established neighborhood pattern. Then we've got aerial drone photographs taken today.
And Sarah, I'll make sure you get a copy of this digitally as well.
So it's 5 pictures in A1.
I think there's actually 4, Counselor.
Yeah.
That's why I went to law school, not
4
engineering school.
pages. Scared me. Everyone vacation pictures to make their way into you. Okay, so subject property, what was this again, A1?
Yes,
All
A1.
right. A1, again, the first sheet shows a satellite image of the subject property. I put a little yellow around the subject site. It's about 4 lots removed from Cove Street, where it peels off of Route 46 by the lake as you're traveling westbound. And we've got that pocket of homes that you just heard through Mr. Wine's opening statement, that there's about 8 or so right along Route 46, which are now zoned for non-residential in the BP Professional Business District, but really haven't manifested in that regard. And in fact, it sounds like we have some residential neighbors who are pretty well, I'll say, dug in terms of the investment and the concern for their residential homes. This is a developed piece of property. It is it is a single tax lot, block 3300, lot number 24. So I believe we're 2 lots removed from the interested party that just spoke. I don't think we immediately abut. There is a lot in between, lot number 25, and I think we just heard from the interested party at lot number 26. So there is some separation and the potential for some other build somewhere down the line to come in between. There's a mixed bag of, the lot pattern here is pretty generic in terms of the lot sizes, and the applicant has a deficient lot size of 5,474 square feet, and this string of 8 or so dwellings, residential lots, are all on par with that. The applicant is proposing a home that's about 1,800 square feet in livable area, and if you go just a couple lots away, over at lot number 20, our records on the GIS are showing there's a home of 1,900 square feet. So not asking for floor area that's out of character with what we do see elsewhere in this little string of homes as well. We are here in the BP Professional Business District, but we do back up to the R4 district. You just heard from an interested party who lives there as well. The applicant is asking the board to move on height relief here for 28.4 feet, where 25 feet would be the maximum that's allowed. But right behind us in that R4 zone, 35 feet is what's allowed. So again, these homes, this additional height here is not going to stand out, given the fact that we do have that backdrop of an allowance for 35 feet immediately behind us. Next couple of photographs just show the characteristic of the neighborhood, and I apologize that they came out so dark. That's the printer. They really did not come out that dark when we took them. I tried to put a little yellow arrow where the home would be, and that arrow is actually a little offset. It should slide a little bit to the right on page number 2 because it's pointing to the vacant lot between the subject site and the interested parties lot. So if you just slide that arrow a little to the right, that's the dwelling that we're talking about. At the end of the day, what the applicant is actually looking to do in terms of the building footprint is fill that notch at the back of the buildings. We're sort of squaring off the house. You've heard that we're going to take the house down, we're going to work on the foundation that's there, and again, create this rectangular footprint with a second floor above. So building up and out over that which is presently there, but the out is filling the notch that is presently there in terms of this L-shaped home. You get a sense of the mass and the scale of the homes in the area, and as I said, that white house all the way to the right there, over by the State Farm, is about 1,900 square feet. The applicant is asking for 1,800 square feet. So good harmony, I think, good practicality, and although we do need floor area relief, we're not asking for something that's overreaching or overpowering in the context of the neighborhood. And you could see in this view, which I'll say is looking to the north, that there are a number of lake homes in the area as well, which really defines the character of the area. And we see this as keeping with the character, notwithstanding the fact that it's not in conformance with the zone scheme here. Working our way to sheet number 3 on A1. Again, same thing here. This is taking you a little bit more of a view down Route 46, just to show what the corridor is like. We all know what 46 can be like, and this is a driveway right now that backs out into a live lane of traffic. The applicant is going to fix that from a safety standpoint by putting that little turnaround in the driveway, or that hammerhead, so now vehicles can point out as they go out. And again, this arrow in the wrong lot, it should slide over to that gray building on the other side of, actually that's where the drone guy is, flying the drone with that yellow vest. Sheet number 4 is just the reverse view, looking on the other side, where again, the predominant character of the area are these lake homes that overlook the beautiful lake. You do have the CVS on the other side, which may be what the zone plan ultimately looks for here, but that would require an assemblage, and certainly could be more impactful on those adjacent homes than what the applicant is proposing here. We think the overall scale of the development is relatively modest from a mass and scale standpoint, and proportionate to both the pattern and the scale of the neighborhood, the character of the neighborhood. Residential against residential is a good thing from a planning standpoint, so notwithstanding the expansion of a non-conforming use, we see at this particular location good neighborhood harmony. Just to run through the relief in there, as always, laid out very well in your board planner's report. Ms. Lahaney gives the board the list of relief, and I'll just go through them one by one. As council said, the first most important relief is the D2 for the expansion of a non-conforming use. The justification for the D2 is that this is a more relaxed test than D1. The statutory test is not whether the use belongs in the first place, but the essence of the D2 test is whether we're taking what's there and making it better. And I think through our architectural testimony, you heard that this is going to make the site better and advance several purposes of zoning, including purpose A, the promotion of the general welfare with improved housing stock, improved safety, and that overall site access and egress. Additionally, purpose I, the promotion of a desirable visual environment. This is a home that's almost 100 years old. We're going to fix it. We're going to bring it up to modern standards, keeping consistency with the overall character of the area. And then purpose M, our goal for efficient use of land, taking what's there, repurposing it, rebuilding it, reconstructing, also advances that goal. So that's the bundle of positives that would go with all the negatives. God bless you. That the applicant is asking the board to move on. In terms of the negative criteria with respect to this D2 expansion, in terms of neighborhood character, we're maintaining that small lot residential character of the neighborhood. In terms of the pattern, the mass, the scale of this building is going to be on par with what we see in the general area. Access, circulation are not getting worse, they're getting better. And then the overall aesthetic, we see as an improvement, not a detriment to that which is presently there. With respect to impairment to the zone plan, again, this is a site that we believe does not impair the intent and purpose of your 2024 master plan reexamination report. We know that the zone intent is to encourage these larger lot assemblies here. Notwithstanding that, again, the use is there. This is not one of the vacant lots, but this is a lot that's already got a home on it. Applicant looking to repurpose it and respect the neighborhood around it, including the interested parties that you heard from this evening. So I believe the degree of departure here is not substantial, given the character of the neighborhood and that which is around it. With respect to the remainder relief, we do have D4 relief for the FAR. 0.33 is what's proposed, 0.15 is what's allowed. It's more than double what the zone would allow, but again, for the reasons we've given here, substantially complying with all of the setbacks, fully complying now with the overall lot coverage, and substantially complying with the building coverage with that slight uptick over that which presently exists, going to 20.2%, where 19.8% is what presently exists out there. We think the planning goal for maintain adequate light, air, and open space with our floor area controls and avoiding a building that's overpowering in the context of the neighborhood is going to be met here as well. As I said, it's about 1,800 square feet in terms of the applicable floor area. You do have another home a few lots away that's 1,900 square feet. With respect to the D6 relief, the height relief, the height is actually at 29.3 feet, where, oh, I'm sorry, I said 28.4 at the outset. Thank you for that. 25 feet is the maximum that's allowed. I think we can point to the fact that this is a de minimis deviation. I know it's a D. It's just a foot or so above what would be a C variance. We think that that relates to the character of the roof, the pitch of the roof, and the fact that, again, this is repurposing a building that's already there and backs up to buildings that can be 35 feet. So we don't see that additional 4.3 feet as being substantially detrimental to the neighborhood. Whenever there is height relief, we look to see if any of the Grasso purposes of height control are being violated. This added height is not going to create negative shadow effects on the neighboring property owners. I think it's been well vetted in terms of what the impact would be from a window or transparency standpoint, and there are, I think, good mitigative measures to lessen the impact there. The added height is really not contributing to the transparency or the additional visibility of the neighboring home. The additional height is not creating an ugly or an obtrusive structure in the context of the landscape. The additional height is not creating a population density that exceeds the carrying capacity of the land. And with that regard, I would offer that I believe the height relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public or the zone. I think we've landed now with just a couple of Cs. The lot coverage now complies. That becomes a mitigative measure for the building coverage, which, as I just said, is at 20.2%, 19.8% being the maximum that's allowed. I'm sorry, 19.8% is what is there presently. 15% is what the applicant is asking the board to move on. So a slight uptick over that, which is presently there now. All of this, I believe, also relates to the undersized nature of the lot, which triggers relief as well. We are at 5,474 square feet, where an acre would be required. So this is about a tenth, an eighth, a ninth of what the actual minimum lot size requirement would be. Likewise, the lot width is at 50 feet, where 200 feet would be required. I think that gives some credence to the relief that the applicant is requesting with respect to the overall building coverage. I think it all ties together where those bundle of positives that I gave you at the outset will advance fundamental purposes of zoning, and all of the other relief is necessary to effectuate those beneficial betterments of the site. With that said, I would offer that the statutory criteria for relief are met, the bucket of D relief that the applicant needs, and then the C relief as relating again under that flexible C balancing test where the benefits of the application as a whole would substantially outweigh any detriments. With that, I believe the criteria are met and approval is warranted. It's a good practical application.
Thank you, John. And just really one follow-up question for you. I know, and I think you alluded to this and even said it outright from the outset, all of this relief, whether the D4 and D6 or some of the C, would it be your opinion as a planner that it really stems from the D2, from expanding the use into something that, if it were to comply with FAR, just because I did the math, would only be 820 square feet of house?
Right.
So does it really all stem from being being on the undersized lot you alluded to and wanting to maintain and bring a home, a family home into 2026 and beyond.
Right, I think suffice it to say, 800 square feet is not the norm for new construction in your area.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further for Mr. McDonough.
Thank you. Anybody from the planning board? Catherine?
I have a question.
Yep.
Was there an attempt to purchase, there's a vacant lot on either side, was there an attempt to purchase additional land so that you can make the lot more conforming?
It's a very good question. I don't know the answer.
I would have to check with my client.
Could you?
I could do that.
Thank you.
Sorry, if you have other questions, if you want.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. If you wanted to ask Mr. McDonough other questions.
That's it?
For me?
Anybody else have any questions? Mr. McDonough? Liz, do you have, I know we have your report, and I thank you. That's a very nice report you put together for us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I do have a question for Mr. McDonough, because I know he'll have a good answer. But Mr. McDonough, the last reexamination was done in 2024, and there was no mention of moving this area out of the PB zone. So how do you reconcile improving for a use that is not permitted and is actually, it seems as if the policy is actually, you mentioned assemblage. It seems like the policy would almost be encouraging assemblage to have a use and lots that are conforming to the PB zone. Can you provide an answer to that?
I looked for that in the master plan. There was recognition in the master plan that there may be upgrades to the homes that are here, and decks, additions per se. I think it may say additions in there, but things that would fall within the realm of de minimis. This certainly tips over with the complete knockdown and the reconstruction of what's there. My reconciliation would be the practical reality of assemblage and the fact that we would require this entire block to be assembled to have a conforming 43,000 square foot. You've already heard from interested parties that are concerned about the well-being of their homes in the neighborhood. So I think the practical reality is, for the time being, upgrades to what is there now does not impair the overall intent of the zone plan.
Okay.
So, again, it might not be a fair question to you, Liz, but in your opinion, how do you feel about this zone being a PB zone? I know it is, and it's not going to change tonight.
Candidly, I do have concerns because, as Mr. McDonough says, in order to it would require an assemblage of at least 7 or 8 lots to get to a conforming lot size. It also is right up against pretty solidly single-family residential neighborhoods that are actually zoned for single-family residential. The lots are also relatively shallow. You know, they're 100 feet, so that limits the kind of professional business that you could really accommodate on these lots. So while I understand it's on Route 46 and there's certainly wisdom to wanting to have more commercial on Route 46, but in this specific area, it may be difficult to accomplish.
So I'm asking, because, John, I'm going to turn it to you. Maybe we should rethink that as a committee. You know, the ordinance committee, maybe take a look at this.
Well, it was the C1 zone. And then we
I
put
know
it
it was
into
the C1 zone.
We put it into the PB.
But I think the issue is, Mr. McDonough brought up, and Liz just brought up, to get the 40,000 square feet, you're going to have to do, might never happen.
But minus the square footage, I mean, at least if it was a use that was consistent with the PB zone as opposed to residential, at least you'd be meeting that, is my thought.
So we would just have to rethink the specs of that zone. So something to maybe consider. The other question I
Right
had,
next to this.
Right.
This sits in the middle of,
Right.
there's 4
Vacant
lots. This is the, 2 on one side, 1 on the other, it's vacant. So,
Yeah, no, I understand.
two-thirds of the way there.
I know.
Yeah,
But
is
that's,
is this the first domino to fall? I don't,
But all four together wouldn't make the 4,300.
it wouldn't.
no, right. The other question I had is, in many other zone districts
But it would be
in
the
Mount
close
Olive,
inside
height
of the
is
state.
35 feet.
Right.
Do you know the thought,
Half the
and
size
I don't know if my agree fair, why is this 25?
I can only speculate,
I'm
and,
sure.
the speculation would be that that's more in keeping with the existing conditions, because it is relatively low scale.
Right, and you could see by the drone pictures that there's a mix of everything. There's,
Yeah.
so I thought maybe first, before I ask the question, is that maybe the goal was to keep them at one level.
Right.
You know, keep these businesses, professional office
Lower
businesses.
scale.
Like the state farm building, that's not,
What's that?
the state farm building,
Yeah, isn't that low?
yeah, that's low.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of the concept, but it seems to be a dream to make it, if we wanted to, PB zone, 25 feet, I just don't know, it needs another look, I think.
I kind of remember.
But again, that's got nothing to do with tonight, and so I digress, but,
Yeah, and I
you
think,
have-
Chair, if I may, like, just to wax poetic a little bit, but in this block being right next to the lake as well, there's kind of something charming about keeping it residential, rather than, you know, if you got it, like, technically, if you assembled everything and got a Walmart to come, you know, park over here, it kind of takes away from some of the charm maybe of being right next to the lake, but, and that, you know, that may be why it's remained residential, that particular block overall.
I think the charm of
think
Route
there's-
46
yeah,
might outweigh the charm of the lake.
I get it, but, you know, different strokes for different folks. It's-
Mr. Wine, did you get an answer from your client about
Yeah.
purchasing?
And what was the yes or a no? That's all I asked. Was there an attempt, yes or no? That was all I asked.
It's just, did he attempt it or not attempt it? That's all she wants to know.
Yeah, so there is, it's a more complicated answer, which is why it took so long to get
Oh,
it.
okay.
So this lot is owned by an entity, this entity that we're being applied for. One of the adjacent lots is owned, I believe, by one of the members of that entity personally. Yes, but that's,
Well, but hold on a second. I know that you're looking to say, are you gonna mitigate? But this is not an isolated, undersized lot case.
Yeah, no, I just want to.
So I just want to be clear about the standard. This is a developed lot, it's a pre-existing non-conforming use. I don't want the board to feel as if, I know that that may go into the negative criteria balancing, but that is not the sine qua non of necessary proofs for this application.
Thanks for that clarification, Jim. Okay, fair question,
Yeah.
fair answer. Anybody else from the planning board have any questions for Mr. McDonough? Liz, you're good?
I'm fine, yeah.
So let me open it to the public. If anybody from the public has any questions for Mr. McDonough based on his testimony. I see nothing from the public, so I'll close it. John, thank you again for
Thank you,
your
Mr. Chair.
excellent testimony. Mr. Wine?
sure, so that would really conclude my case. I would respectfully request the right to sum up at the conclusion of any public comment, board professional comment, but that would conclude my case in chief at this point.
Thank you. All right, so what I want to do at this point is I'm going to open it back to the public, for anyone from the public to just speak, tell us your thoughts about any other issues, anything that's on your mind, and if you do speak, we'll swear you in.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
one question. Mike, were all your questions answered that are listed in your report?
I mean, we had a bunch of recommendations and suggestions, should this be approved. I think if we were going to deliberate about a motion, we should be confirmation that those suggestions would be included as conditions.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Mike, thanks.
For example, going through my report, item 210, you know, with the increased impervious coverage, we're recommending that some kind of stormwater management be provided.
And the well, we're gonna hear that.
Yeah, we're gonna, the existing well, and the reason we asked about the location is we wanted to make sure that it wasn't located potentially out of that back corner of the building where they're gonna do the expansion. But that would obviously be subject to, if it had to be replaced with a condition, would be subject to the health department's oversight. We would recommend that the existing sewer service be located, TV inspected, and repaired as necessary before it was reused, and that would be coordinated with the township. That's item 2.12. 2.13, we always recommend that all sewer cleanouts be fitted with brass caps so that they can be located in the future. And 2.7, we mentioned that the residential site improvement standards require 2.5 parking spaces for a 4-bedroom. Just for the board's information, if it's a half a space, it gets rounded down based on the residential site improvement standards. So if it was a 3-bedroom, it would still require 2 spaces. And there weren't any dimensions on the plan for the driveway, so we want that to be dimensioned so we can confirm that they're adequately sized spaces. And then recommending that an as-built plan be prepared.
And Chairman, for the record, we take no exception to those recommendations.
Okay, Mike, I made notes of what you took. Anything else that you think should be in a, as a condition if we go forward?
No, I think if those were
Okay.
included, that would cover all the comments that we had.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Mike, they're increasing from 3 bedrooms to 4. Do they need to acquire another EDU?
I believe the EDU is 1 EDU for the residential, but that would be subject to any kind of review and application with the Department of Public Works.
Okay, so it's not based on the number of bedrooms?
No.
Okay.
Is this an investment property or the applicant's gonna live there?
I believe it's an investment property.
Is there any way that they would consider making this affordable housing?
I can't imagine that would be a beneficial investment, to be honest with you. As a single,
Good as.
as a single, it's a fair question. You know, Mr. Schechter, what I will say in my experience as a land use attorney is unless you are specifically an affordable housing developer, typically single-family residences are not being developed as affordable housing, per se. But, yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, if you want, you can come up to the microphone again. What I'll have you do is state your name and address for the record, spell your last name, and we'll swear you in.
Hi, Sandra Rudolph, it's RUDALF. We are at 264 Route 46, Lot 26.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't hear.
It's Sandra Rudolph, it's RUDALF. Myself and my husband John live at 264 Route 46, Lot 26.
Thank you, ma'am. If you'd raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
And I apologize, I'm not good at speaking in
No,
public.
that's
I get
okay.
very nervous. My only main concern about this property is that the existing property, that's the house that's there now, only has the 1 bathroom. They're looking to add on to put 2.5 bathrooms there. Plus, I'm assuming, most likely with a house like that, they're gonna have a laundry room and a dishwasher, which the house that sits there now has none of that. My problem is, we've lived there for 15 years. We've constantly had trouble. In the summer, if it gets to like a drought point, where the water table drops so low, we almost have no water in our wells. We only have 25 feet deep wells. Our property and 266 right next to us is the same way. My problem is, they're gonna be almost using triple the water. So what happens if my well goes dry over the summer now? What am I supposed to do? I don't have the money to put a new well in.
That is actually within the jurisdiction of the Board of Health. So,
And there is no town water there.
I understand. So, in order, the way that the Board of Health ordinances are written is as a condition of approval, they'd have to get Board of Health approval for their well. I think the ordinance actually states, and I don't represent the Board of Health, and certainly that is a concern that the board here can consider, but it doesn't control this board's action. But the Board of Health does have a requirement that for any reoccupancy or addition, that they have to have a permit for that. And I believe that the Board of Health may have some controls over demand and influence on outside properties. So it would be something that you'd have to monitor. And I don't, this board doesn't have strict control over saying anything as to the future as to what happens with that well. The Board of Health would. All the applicant is required to do under the municipal land use law is to establish that they have access to appropriate water and sewer.
Yeah, because they all run off the same reservoir.
I
And
understand.
I've already talked to the guy from.
In prior
Water
hearings, the
Department
board has heard about the shallow wells there that and we're not unfamiliar with it, but again, it does ultimately go back, I think, to the Board of Health.
So then if my well goes dry, who do I go after?
The Board of Health is
for
gonna
approving
be
it?
having a problem with that.
All right, I just want to know, because like I said, I don't have the money, and I don't think it would be fair if I get chased out of my home that I've been there for 15 years, because I won't have any water now.
Mr. Winder,
That's
with
not
this,
fair.
with this application, is there any plan to drill a deeper well? Do you know the depth of the well on this property?
I do not, I'm not even sure if any of my professionals here would know the answer to that question as to how deep it is. Unless Jacob has any idea, then yeah, it's not part of the plan now. What I will say, because again, I think it's a valid concern. I get that, and we have to, as part of any resolution compliance, we have to satisfy all relevant outside agencies. So you heard reference to the DOT because of driveway access. There's also all the local outside agencies, so that's Board of Health, DPW, to the extent for whatever reason there was some type of road closure, the police as well. But, so, one of the levels of review is going to be presumably the Board of Health if they have such a concern, and we'll have to satisfy whatever their comments are.
And the only other question is, this is an empty lot that's right next to my house, lot 26, which is going to be next to this property that you're going to build on. Now, lot 26, the last 3 to 4 tenants that have lived on that property have moved over onto that property to the point where the last people were actually running a junkyard off of that property. They had all the junk cars parked against my fence, and then they would park their cars against my fence. So you get the exhaust coming into my bedrooms because they were parking right against there. Now, are they going to be allowed to do what they want on that property again, since it
Well,
seems like nobody owns it?
If you're talking about lot 26, obviously parking cars is not an allowable use, and that is something that would be handled through zoning enforcement. So my best advice is if you see activity on lot 26, you can report that to the zoning office.
Are you lot 27 or lot?
No, she's 25.
Oh, no, we're 26, I meant lot 25, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, but lot 25, like I said, it's just junk, like they've cut, like, trees down, they're all just laying
There's a
there.
property, I'm sorry to interrupt, there's property maintenance ordinances, and you can bring that up to Sarah, is our zoning officer. If you'd like to, Sarah can give you her contact after the meeting, and those are things that you would bring up to them, and the property owner would be cited if such thing is found.
But like I said, everybody that seems to move in on that property moves into that other lot, and they do what they want on it. They've made it like a junkyard next to me. They have so many down trees there that they were cutting up for firewood. We get termites. There are rats coming out of that shed that sits on that property.
The
that are
property
now
owner
coming over on our
of
yard.
record, sorry to interrupt again, the property owner of record has the responsibility to maintain that.
Yeah,
So
and I've
if,
turned it in quite a few times, but nothing seems to ever get done with it.
I don't know if Sarah has records of any kind of infractions, but I would suggest grab Sarah's contact information. And again, the property owner as of today is responsible for the condition of that. So the conditions that you just brought up, if we find that that's there would be a summons issued or certainly a notice of intent to that property owner to clean it up or face violation.
Yeah, I
So
just
that's
don't
the
want more
process.
people coming in there that are gonna do the same thing.
Then those people will be cited as well.
And even the last people were raising chickens on the property. They
Well,
kept coming over in my yard.
That's actually Sarah's favorite subject.
They did stop them from doing that at least. They
But
did stop them from having.
joking aside, I think that it takes a little diligence. You live right there. If you see some kind of activity that seems improper, Sarah's the person that would kind of help put an end to that. And then, of course, that's enforceable by the court here in Mount Olive. So it's not taken lightly. So if we know about it, we can address it.
Yeah, well, my main concern, like I said, is that window. I don't want people looking in my house. What goes on in my house is nobody's business.
Well, and while you're talking about that, I think we did discuss an option of putting up a different type of window, something that's higher that people won't be looking in through the window.
But
I
there
think
is
no
a
matter how
vacant,
high the window is, they're gonna be able to see across there and look into my house.
Not if
It's just
there's
the
no
way
window.
My house is gonna be.
but there is a
sitting down.
vacant
they're
lot
saying is-
between you and this house, right?
Yeah, but no offense, but when I'm in my house, I can see the people in their windows in that house that exists there
What they're
now.
saying, ma'am, is they installed the windows so high that you'd have to stand on a ladder inside the house to look out that window from inside inside the house is proposed.
Oh, well, if they can't reach the window to look out of it, that's something different.
That's what they're talking about doing.
That was what the recommendation.
Right, so the purpose of the window is there to bring in natural light, but it's high above anybody's head, so it's not a window that anybody will be able to look out of.
All right, well, that's all I have to say, but like I said, I'm
Okay.
just mainly concerned about my well,
And-
more
and
than
I-
anything.
And I actually want to address one of the other comments you brought up as well, as it does pertain to the land use law, so I want to correct the record to the vice chair. My client does actually, we just double checked the tax records, he does actually own both of those properties, 24 and 25, in an LLC. It doesn't change, in the same LLC. It doesn't change what Mr. Bryce said with respect to isolated undersized lot. Combining them would not get you to the minimum required lot size. But what I can, and why I'm addressing it now to the lady as well, is I think we can confidently say this owner, if you look at the quality of the house being proposed as well, having now purchased this lot, I can commit on record that they're going to keep lot 25 in tip-top shape. I don't know if there's plans for the future for it, but it's going to be maintained properly, and I can commit to that to you, because I think it's a very prudent point, and despite the fact it's for code enforcement, I think hearing it, and my client sitting here right now, hearing that as well as the new property owner, can take immediate steps to address whatever issues there are.
And if they actually own that lot, let me ask you guys now, there is a tree that sits right against the fence that has grown so high, it covers the whole roof in the summer when it's in bloom, to the point where the branches keep falling on my roof, messing up my roof. There's no light on that property no more there because of this tree.
You know, Mrs. Rudolph, I heard some real positive things from Mr. Wine, and I think we should take advantage of that, which is the owner of lot number 25 seems to be in a very willing position to clean it up. And so,
Well, that's what I'm wondering, would they do something about that tree though?
It's-
Because
it
even my
sounds like
insurance
Mr. Wine said
company
they're a very good
doesn't
neighbor.
want to insure my property because of that tree.
I don't want to make a condition of that, Mr. Wine, but I think you hear what's going on.
Definitely.
And I think what we're saying, based on what you're saying, is that property owners looks to me with the nod of approval that they're going to take care of that for you. Am I correct when I make that comment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to speak to a tree specifically, I'm not sure, but general site cleanup, and if the tree is in fact problematic, I think that falls right into what the chairman's
It's
saying.
overgrown onto our roof.
Yeah, then-
It covers our
I
entire
think,
roof now.
I think the key here to, when you live close to people is developing good neighborly relationships. And you seem like fine people who are looking to invest into the township. And I would imagine an ongoing relationship with them would help keep that lot in a satisfactory position based on how you think it needs to be. So I would look to go forward with that, but it sounds like this property owner is willing to clean it up, make it right, and your relationship with them will help for the future as well. Just my advice.
I just mainly want to know what's going to happen with my well, that's all.
Okay.
So if I have to take it up with the Board of Health or whoever you said,
Yep.
then I'll do that.
We'll make some notes on that if we were to approve it in conditions. Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public? Okay, I see nothing from the public. Mr. Wine, I know you wanted to make a final summation.
Yeah, and I really thank the board for their time. I'll be brief. I think at the end of the day, the testimony has been robust with respect to the odd condition of the property being located in a business district, despite being a fairly established pattern of residences on the block. There are a couple of vacant properties, including obviously, as the vice chair pointed out, the one next to us. But you would have to assemble, I think Mr. McDonough said, if not all of the block, very close to all of the block to get to that minimum requirement to propose something that's commercial. Because frankly, and something else that I would look at as well, as an attorney, is if you assembled, let's say, 2 or 3 or even 5 of those lots, did not meet the minimum lot size requirement, you'd probably be before this board for a number of similar variances, but for a more intensive use. And with respect to, Mrs. Randolph, I think, a couple doors down, I think that would cause a greater imposition onto her property, and certainly the neighbors behind us who are actually zoned residential, who are in the R4 zone. So to simply say we should put something commercial on a property because it's zoned commercial, when everything else around it does not make sense to be zoned commercial, I don't necessarily think that would be the best planning outcome of an application. So, as I said from the outset, really, the task to this board and my request of this board, after having heard the testimony, the conditions that we've agreed to, and having honestly seen the home and the fact that it will be a beautiful addition and a beautiful renovation, my ask of you is that you approve us to expand our residence as proposed with the conditions, and all of the other bulk relief that we've discussed kind of gets subsumed within that. If you agree that this is a good thing and that we should be promoting and considering expanding single-family residences that are established, that do exist there, and that people do live in, then I would ask you to approve the application. And I thank you again for your time this evening, and with all the conditions, respectfully request approval here this evening.
Do they own lot 22 as well? So it's a 22, 23, 24, and 25.
No, 24 and just the
So they own 23, 24.
No, just 24 and 25.
So they don't own 23 as well.
No, they're saying no.
Okay. So with the conclusion of the testimony, there's a couple of conditions that I noted. Mr. Bryce has probably made a couple himself. So before we make a resolution, before we make a motion, I'm sorry, that motion should include conditions such as the comment about natural looking, something earth tone. I think that should be in the resolution, that the applicant has agreed to make it a natural looking rather than a bright or psychedelic color. I think that we need to add as conditions, I'm going to turn to Mr. Breland's report on page 2, and we're going to include the comments that are noted on 2.7, 2.10, 2.11, 2.12, and 2.14. And those are in Mr. McGroder's report. That's what was discussed and agreed to, that those conditions, those items will be met.
Chairman, you mentioned 2.7. I don't believe that's a recommendation.
No,
Just to
you
add
know what?
dimensions.
Yeah, I have a further note. 2.7, that the plans for the driveway
Yeah.
need to be submitted.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's where my note was, to the plans on 2.7. I also have the condition that this entire application must have Board of Health review and approval to deal with the well issue and to make sure that water is in abundance and properly satisfies the needs of the Board of Health. And of course, my last condition is that that window that's proposed on that side of the building that faces Mrs. Rudolph's house be changed to, I don't remember the word you used.
Awning.
An awning type window, higher,
Transom.
transom window. And that's to protect privacy of the neighbor. Jim, do you have others?
Just one condition that was represented is the removal of the shed.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any other conditions that we thought? Mr. Wine, were you okay with everything that we just said?
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew.
Okay,
Yeah, no problems.
perfect. Okay, so with those conditions, if somebody would please make a motion to move application PB 25-23, or not.
Well, I would ask, because they're D variances and requires an affirmative vote of 5 out of the 7 that are eligible to vote, that it be made in the affirmative, even if the
No.
movant does not wish to vote yes.
I'll make the motion. To move it to the affirmative with all the conditions as stated.
I'll second that.
Okay, Brian, thank you. David, thank you. Any comments? My only comment is that kind of, I touched upon it before, and I know it's got no place in this application, that maybe that zoning of this area needs to be reconsidered. That being said, Mr. Wine made a very interesting comment, and I thought it very, very sensible. I think just because something is zoned commercial doesn't mean we have to build it commercial. And I think by holding our ground, if that's the position of the planning board, we're just kicking this problem down the road, because if it was built to be a PB item, a professional office building or some other use, it would affect the properties behind them, right? This seems to be a real nice use where it's homes against homes. Even though the home's front on 46, I kind of like the fact that the home is going to stay, it's going to be cleaned up, it's going to be modernized, and, you know, the ultimate goal of this planning board is to one day clean up Route 46. And for those of us that have been sitting on this planning board for a long time, although there's a long way to go, it has been cleaned up tremendously over the years. So yet another property being cleaned up, and my loose word, being modernized, fixed up, made to look very pretty, with the promises that the vacant lot next to it will be cleaned up. I think we're establishing our goals that we have set for long-term. So you made some excellent points, Mr. One, and I do appreciate it, but I agree with you that that would just kick the problem down the road. So I think this is a very good application, and Mr. McDonough's testimony showed us that we can have some comfort doing it. And if nobody else has any questions or comments, we have a motion made and seconded. Sarah, roll call, please.
David Scapicchio,
Yes.
Brian Schechter,
No.
John Batch,
Yes.
Catherine Natafaluse,
No.
Dan Nelson,
Yes.
William Galp,
No.
Howie Weiss.
Yes.
Motion does not carry.
Did I count incorrectly?
I have
4 to 3.
4 to 3.
Would there be, I guess my only question is there an option to reconsider this, if there was anything specific that was not addressed, that I believe we could address? I had felt that our professionals did address the comments, and if there's anything that was missing, I think it's a great addition, and I really just would be remiss if I didn't ask if there's anything that can be done from, especially the 3 members who voted in the negative.
The applicant always has the ability to ask for a reconsideration of the vote. The vote does carry. It's up to the board if the board wishes to move to reconsider and have discussion as to the reconsideration.
And the only thing I would add to that is not approving it, and respectfully, I respect your decision, I really do, but not approving it just means it's gonna remain in the condition that it is now, and it's still a single-family house, right? And it's still got that terrible driveway and all that stuff. So I guess that's really my only request. Is there anything that can be done that would push us over that boundary to keep it as a single-family house, just a better single-family house?
It's up to the
The
board.
only thing
if
that I
they
have
wanna
to say is, if you're saying that it's not in good shape now,
Yeah.
if it is currently against any of our code or zoning, it has to be brought up to standard, right? So you have to do that regardless of our vote on this tonight.
Well, not building.
It's a
I'm just
question.
saying.
There's a request
Yeah.
to reconsider. It's up to the board to move to reconsider with a movement, second, roll call to reconsider, affirmative, then you have a discussion. There's no discussion until that point, so if somebody
Okay.
wants to move the reconsideration, they're allowed
We
to.
could reconsider, could go into private session, closed session.
That would be inappropriate.
I'll make a motion that we reconsider.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's a simple majority to reconsider, to open up discussion for reconsideration.
David Scapicchio,
Yes.
Brian Schechter,
Yes.
John Batch,
Yes.
Catherine Natafaluse,
Yes.
Dan Nelson,
Yes.
William Galp,
Yes.
Howie Weiss.
Yes.
All right. So now that there is a motion that is entertained, you can discuss the reconsideration at this point in time.
So is there some, of those that voted against, is there something that you would like to discuss that would perhaps change your mind?
I would have liked to see the applicant at least merge 2 of those lots. And we can't ask for it, so
The only thing that I can say is that that is not an appropriate legal standard to use to judge the variances being requested. The variances being requested include D2, which is the expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use. That in and of itself indicates that it is an existing use. It is not a vacant lot. It does not require merger. It is a very normal and typical technique where you will have ownership in a checkerboard pattern just to avoid the merger issues. And that is completely legal, and it is completely appropriate. This is not a Lochner doctrine, this is not a merger issue. I know that that may be it, but that is not the basis on which to judge a variance, in my opinion, to the board. This is whether or not the applicant, under the positive criteria, has established that the subject property remains appropriate for the use as existing, and it is not substantially outweighed by the negative criteria. And that frankly, I'm trying to draw from my stories here as to the quality of proof, but it's promoting it's a lesser burden than a D1. It requires that they establish that it promotes the purposes of the municipal land use law, and that the purposes of those being advanced are not outweighed by the negative criteria.
So Jim, that being said, there's no pre-existing non-conforming on lot 25 or 23, correct?
Those are vacant.
Okay.
We don't own 23, yeah, just to be clear.
Okay. You own 25 then?
25, correct.
Okay.
Now that, and I do not want to prejudge something, but if you have common ownership, and you know what? I don't even want to get into that right now because that is a different issue, but I don't want the board to be confused that this is a isolated hardship case. It is not. And that would be
But it
an
wouldn't
improper
be-
basis upon which to
So-
deny an application.
Okay, that's okay, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. Because if someone happens to come in for lot 25 and wants to put a house there, then there's no pre-existing non-conforming.
It's a vacant lot.
It's a
an
lot size,
ISO
but it's vacant.
That is correct, but we would get to the proofs there
Okay.
at that point.
That would be a D1 application, which is a higher burden, and
Okay.
I understand
Got it.
where you're going with that, Mr. Schachter, and that's a prudent
That,
point.
I know where that was coming from. I know where it was going. That's why I tried to
Thank you.
initially
I-
tell you,
I appreciate that.
not the right standard to judge
So
this.
should we make the motion again?
Well, unless Bill or Catherine has anything you wanted to add.
No, because I agree with what he was saying.
Yeah. So let's make that, I'll make the motion.
Well, now you have to, at this point in time, there's been discussion, so from a parliamentary perspective, I think that you do need to have another public opportunity to discuss, close it, and then there could be a motion to reconsider. That motion to reconsider at that point in time would be to approve and require 5 affirmative votes with the same conditions. So you've had your discussion, you've had your reconsideration hearing, public gets to speak.
Okay, so as our attorney just explained to us, if anybody from the public has any comments based on the conversation that we just had, I see nothing from the public. I'll close it to the public and turn to the planning board and ask if someone would please make a motion of reconsideration
I'll make that motion
to approve
to approve.
with the conditions as we previously discussed. Thank you, Brian.
I'll second that.
David, thank you. Any more conversation from the planning board? Sarah, roll call.
David Scapicchio,
Yes.
Brian Schachter.
Yes.
John Batch,
Yes.
Catherine Nataplusi,
Yes.
Dan Nelson,
Yes.
William Galb,
No.
Howie Weiss.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate that.
With that, this concludes this application, and I'm also going to, do we need to make a roll call?
We need to have a motion to go into an executive session.
So we are gonna, I'm gonna look to the planning board to make a motion to go to closed sessions.
Motion to go close session.
Brian, second? Second. Dan? So at this point, there'll be no further business of the planning board. When we come out of closed session, we will adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
It doesn't matter, that was the first domino to fall to establish a due date, and now that opportunity has.
And then what was said to change the plan? Folks, can you take it outside, because we're not done.
Yeah, but I thought that was just from Mekong River to, yeah.
Good night, John. You're welcome. Well, we're gonna, have to just shut the camera off. Yes, he did.
So responsible.
Wow, you did.
I'm
Okay, we're back in open session, and at this point, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
I think, no, Jamie wanted to get in this one. I'm gonna acknowledge Jamie. Jamie, you made the motion, who's gonna second that?
No, it's okay.
Okay, I'll second. Okay, Brian's gonna second, all in favor? No
I
meeting
wouldn't want
next
to
week,
pressure you,
we'll see
use
you
my
in April.
official position to influence you.
Thank you, everybody.
Enhanced, is our enhanced member.
Thought mine was a fair question. Who done it?
I know.
Technology is the devil. It's,
And this was like